Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten here, bringing you a new Nancy Drew analysis video. Today's video is brought to you by the patrons over at Mystique Manor, and by all the official Fellow Detective channel members. If you too would like to support the channel and gain access to exclusive features, check out patreon.com/wizardkitten to become a patron, or click join next to the subscribe button to become an official fellow detective. One of the things that I really appreciate about video games is that players have the opportunity to take risks and explore their curiosity without the potential for grave, irredeemable errors. As a very cautious, type A, plan everything ahead of time to avoid disaster kind of person in real life, the freedom of the video game world gives me a bit of space to go more wild, experiment, and try things that I would never do IRL. Which brings me to today's video, Second Chances in the Nancy Drew PC games. I have a complicated relationship with second chances. On the one hand, they're often hilarious, and they provide me with the space to explore and make mistakes, just as I mentioned. On the other hand, as a goody two-shoes, I usually try to avoid the second chances, often because many of them involve making a wrong move or saying the wrong thing, or making a catastrophic mistake that ends Nancy's life, at least for a moment. I know from my streamathons that some of you fellow detectives are like me, a bit hesitant to go for all of the second chances, and that others are chaotic as can be and willingly leap Nancy off precarious ledges, force her to eat poisonous foods, or cause her to explode with abandon. I think both of these approaches are valid, as are the approaches in between. And all of this second chance postulating got me thinking, which second chances are my favorites? Which ones will I willingly make happen even though I have my hesitant air pulling me back from many of them? Because let's be honest, some of the second chances in the Nancy Drew PC games are really funny, and those ones are my absolute favorites. So today, let's talk about my top 10 favorite second chances in the Nancy Drew PC game series. As always, I like to try and make things a little more organized and objective, and so here are my parameters for ranking. First, is there a lead-up or warning for the second chance? Many of my favorite second chances come with a clear warning that you should not do the thing that you're about to do, and yet, you do it anyway. You should have known better, but you throw caution to the wind and do the dangerous thing, only to put Nancy in mortal peril. It feels a lot funnier to me when you should have seen it coming and you either don't, or you do and you decide to go for it anyway. Second, how likely is the second chance to be something that could actually occur in real life? As a whole, I prefer a nice mix of realism and the fantastical in my media, and so any second chance that is a bit silly but still definitely possible hits the sweet spot for me. Finally, how entertaining is the actual second chance? This is highly subjective, but any second chance that gets a full-on ha from me is easily going to be one of my favorites. A good-natured eye roll or facepalm is also acceptable. But really, if I can't help but laugh at the execution of a second chance, then we're talking top tier. Each of these three parameters will be ranked on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, with 5 stars being the best, meaning that we have a total possible score of 15 stars. Ties will be broken by prioritizing entertainment first, then warning, and finally, realism. Any ties after that will be broken by my personal preference. I have also made the executive decision to not include any of the culprit confrontation second chances in this video. I feel like those second chances are so intimately related to the quality of the culprit and the ending that it would be kind of unfair to rank the excitement of them against ordinary in-game second chances. All second chances in this video, therefore, are not part of any of the final culprit confrontations. here is your obligatory spoiler warning. There will be plot spoilers and, obviously, second chance spoilers for the following games. You have been warned. And without further ado, let's get started. Number 10, Jetpack into the Ocean from Haunting of Castle Malloy. I feel like that title says it all. Nancy flying around on a jetpack is goofy enough, but when she has to risk flying away from land to a little rock island, things can get dire pretty quickly, and honestly, it's hilarious. I think it's 4-star hilarious, in fact, to hear Nancy careen into the chilly ocean waves surrounding the Irish Isles with a wail of surprised despair. I have to rank this one lower because of its 1-star realism. Really, the jetpack alone is enough to get us 1 star in this category, even if we don't consider how likely it is or isn't for it to only malfunction over the water. This one is also a bit lower because of the 2-star warning. There isn't really an explicit warning that you'll crash into the waves if you miss the island, but I give it 2 stars because the danger is sort of implied. It makes sense that veering off course could be treacherous, so I'll give it that at least. In the end, this one always makes me chuckle, and is the only second chance from the Renaissance era to make my list. Number 9, Crushed by an Elevator from Treasure in the Royal Tower. For this second chance, we are essentially given no warning whatsoever. When Nancy is trying to open the puzzle door into the secret tunnel, she can move the elevator out of the way by pushing the big red button. Perhaps we should all know that big red buttons prophesy doom, but the game neglects to tell you that the elevator will come back down and it will crush you. We therefore get 1 star for warning, but 3 stars for entertainment, because this second chance always gets a good snort laugh out of me, mostly because of the splat sound effect and subtitles that accompany Nancy's impending demise. This second chance does get 4 stars for realism as well, because realistically, yes, an elevator careening down from several floors above would absolutely crush you. I take away a star because the likelihood of that happening to anyone is quite slim, but hey, Nancy gets herself into pretty weird circumstances from time to time, so it's not totally impossible. Number 8, Bit by a Critter from Secret of Shadow Ranch. I've combined 2 second chances into 1 here because they're essentially the same and both equally effective. In this game, Nancy can encounter 2 dangerous desert animals, a rattlesnake and a scorpion, which, side note, really adds to the world building of the game and makes it feel like she's actually in Arizona. Seeing local wildlife is huge when it comes to designing a location. Anywho, this second chance gets 5 stars for both warning and realism. Getting bit by a rattlesnake and getting stung by a scorpion are both very real dangers, and both animals give Nancy very fair warning before filling her blood with venom. The rattlesnake beneath the rock rattles menacingly, and the scorpion crawls out onto the sand, tail raised. Both of these threats are real, and detectives can decide to be smart and patient, or reckless and impatient. I love it. This is, however, not a very entertaining second chance, so 1 star in that category, but still enough to make this list just because of how well this more mundane death is executed. Number 7, Firefighting Failure from Message in a Haunted Mansion. It's the buildup of this second chance that gets me, honestly. Early on in the game, Nancy can look in a cabinet and find a fire extinguisher. She says, and I quote, "It's good to know it's there." That, combined with all of the other fire references in this game, heavily foreshadows that there will be a fire and that Nancy will need to put it out with said fire extinguisher. So, we're primed and ready with our 5-star warning, waiting for flames to engulf the sitting room. And then, when it finally happens, if Nancy steps 1 foot in the wrong direction, as in 1 step away from the fire extinguisher, the room is immediately overcome with raging flames. This cracks me up every time. 1 wrong move and the fire goes from contained in a tiny cardboard box to immediately burning everything in its path with no hope of return. We get another 5 stars for realism here because fire is a very real danger, and I love how intricately it is tied into the game's storyline. Fire plays a big role in the history of San Francisco and is therefore a great tool for world building. I have to give this second chance 1 star for its entertainment value because really it's just a realistic fire. But I'm always astounded at this one, and it gets me almost every time. Number 6, Falling Off the Carousel from The Haunted Carousel. This one is mostly funny just because of how much of an overreaction we get from Paula Santos, the park owner who hired Nancy to solve the case. Seriously, she's so rude, and not in the Minette way. Paula Santos berates Nancy, who needs to get her head x-rayed, and then fires her from the case. Who does that? Who fires someone for getting a serious head injury while on the job? Paula Santos, that's who. This second chance is also pretty entertaining because Nancy quite simply reaches too far when trying to grab the brass ring and somehow does a triple axel somersault through the air before landing on the ground. 10 points for sticking the landing, Nancy. I give this one 3 stars for its entertainment value and 4 for realism. Falling off a carousel horse is totally possible, but getting fired for it maybe is not, hence the -1 star. Finally, this second chance gets 2 stars for warning. We are never explicitly told that Nancy can fall off the carousel horse if she reaches too far, but it should perhaps be surmised, so there you have it. Number 5, Expired Food from Danger on Deception Island. This is such a deceptively simple second chance, and yet it is so rewarding every single time. We are 5-star fully warned about the possibility of this second chance. A cursory glance into Katie Firestone's fridge reveals a veritable paradise of expired or inedible foods, from dangerously expired mayonnaise to a jar of jellyfish to slices of moldy cheese. If you can read expiration dates, then you know you shouldn't eat this food or serve it to others. This is also very realistic as a second chance, which means it gets another 5 stars. Food poisoning is a real danger, and definitely something that would put you out of commission and unable to solve a case for likely days. Poisoning your host also isn't a good look either. I give this second chance 2 stars for entertainment because while it isn't quite as entertaining as some of my top tier choices, the look on Katie Firestone's face when she eats some questionable sandwich of Nancy's mischievous design is truly priceless. Number 4, Falling Off the Balcony from The Final Scene. We get a 5-star warning for this second chance in the form of Nancy very clearly telling us that she can't reach the gear sitting on the ledge of the balcony. We should know better at this point, but did that stop little 11-year-old me from throwing caution to the wind and tumbling right off that ledge? No, it did not. This second chance is a bit nostalgic for me because it's the first second chance that I ever experienced in a Nancy Drew game, and I was so shocked at the time that the game would do me dirty like that. tease me with a gear just out of reach and then warn me not to try and get it? So cheeky, game. This is also a 5-star realistic second chance. Who among us hasn't reached a little too far for something, convinced we could get it, and comically stumbled instead? I mean, in this case, Nancy stumbles to her demise, but tomato tomato. I give this second chance 3 stars for its entertainment value as well, partially because of my nostalgia, but mostly because Nancy's shriek of surprise is just too funny. You can just tell she's thinking, well, that wasn't worth it, as she lands painfully upon those theater seats below, and it makes me chuckle every time. Number 3, Death by Chicken from Secret of Shadow Ranch. Yet again, we are fully warned that the death chicken of Shadow Ranch is not to be trifled with. There's a sign and everything that says, "Hey you, don't even think about taking my eggs when I'm here. It makes me crazy." That's a 5-star warning right there. And what I love about it even more is that it's so gosh darn tempting. You can't honestly tell me that none of you walked up to that chicken, saw it sitting there, read the sign, and thought, oh, it can't be that bad, and recklessly ignored that sign and tried to take that chicken's eggs and then regretted it. We've all been there, and that's why this second chance deserves its place in the top 3. It's so incredibly tantalizing. I give it 4 stars for realism because I'm sure if a chicken really was that aggressive, then it could do some serious damage, though I doubt this is a regular issue for most people. I also give it 4 stars for entertainment because while I cackle with glee as the chicken pecks and pulls at Nancy's strawberry blonde hair, there are still 2 more second chances that make me chuckle even more. Number 2, Blowing Up the Boat from Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. This second chance is brilliant. First, we get a 5-star warning in the form of a skull and crossbones on the engine, telling us in no uncertain terms that if you screw up this puzzle, get it? Well then, you're screwed. Aha, did it again. Puns aside, it's very clear that messing up the engine is supposed to be a definite nope. But what really gets me about this second chance is that it teases you. Here you are thinking that you fixed the engine properly, that all the screws are at the correct height, and that Nancy is safe to motor around Moon Lake with abandon. But no, this evil little puzzle putt-putts your detective boat out onto the water only to explode just once you think you've been successful. How cruel is that? That's why this second chance is 5-star entertaining in my book. The way it pulls on your heartstrings before crushing your hopes and dreams is simply magical. I have to give this second chance 3 stars for realism because most motors aren't going to combust with such force just because of a minor mistake, but that's neither here nor there. I love this second chance, and it makes me laugh heartily every single time. Number 1, Eaten by a Giant Carnivorous Plant from Curse of Blackmore Manor. You guys, this second chance though. This second chance is so good. Oh my gosh, I'm just grinning just thinking about it. First, there is no way that Nancy can walk into that conservatory and look at that giant plant and not worry for her safety. It moves, the creepy thing smiles, and it sends us a clear message that we better not get too close, or else. Alarm bells should be ringing in our heads, but just like some of our other top-tier second chances, this moment is just too entertaining to pass up. It's 5 stars of entertaining, in fact, because if Nancy so much as reaches out a finger to this giant plant, it suddenly, with a swiftness that defies all understanding, scoops Nancy up into its mouth and gobbles her up, head first, her sneakers dangling futilely in the air. Her shriek is hilarious, and I love to imagine the horrified look that must pass over Mrs. Drake's face when she turns and sees Nancy's waving feet in the air. Can you imagine? I do have to dock this second chance for the realism factor because the likelihood of there being a ginormous, thriving carnivorous plant in Mrs. Drake's conservatory on the English moors is a bit of a stretch. We'll go with 3 stars because this event is highly unlikely, though perhaps not out of the realm of possibility. At least, in my wildest dreams, I enjoy imagining that that is the case. So, there you have it, fellow detectives. My top 10 favorite second chances in the Nancy Drew PC game series. What did you think about my list? And what do you think about second chances in general? For me, my biggest takeaway is that the classical era games did second chances more effectively than the Renaissance and modern era games. In fact, only one Renaissance era game made this list with spot number 10, and no modern era games made the list at all. When I sifted through all of the second chances in the series, I quickly realized that the classical era second chances just felt more clever, and they leaned into humorous accidents a lot more effectively. I would say additionally that the classical era culprit confrontation second chances are also more effective as a whole. I think this is because the writing and stories had to play a more central role in the classical era, when large sweeping puzzles and crisp graphics were not yet quite as achievable. When you have to rely on the story to do the heavy lifting for the game, then I think you put more effort into coming up with hilarious and unexpected second chances that still feel possible within the world of the game. The second chances of the Renaissance era and the modern era, in contrast, almost seem too realistic, without as much of the shock factor or playfulness. Many of these second chances involve getting caught somewhere that you aren't supposed to be, like when we snoop through everyone's stuff in The Captive Curse, or when you get captured in the Healy Healy lab in Creature of Kapu Cave. This is realistic, but you can only get caught so many times before it starts to feel expected, and even a little bit basic. It's no demon chicken, I can tell you that much. Many of the Renaissance and modern era second chances also involve clearly dangerous circumstances, which again get high warning and realism scores, but score quite low on entertainment. Yes, falling into burning lava in Labyrinth of Lies is obviously going to be a death sequence. Getting hypothermia if you stay outside too long in White Wolf of Icicle Creek is obviously going to be a death sequence. Jumping over a giant hole in the stairs in Haunting of Castle Malloy is obviously going to be a death sequence. It's almost a little too obvious, so much so that these types of second chances can look a little bit mundane when you compare them to the glory that is getting eaten by a carnivorous plant. Ultimately, a good second chance comes down to creativity, shock, excitement, and humor for me. I still want the getting caught sequences and the obvious death sequences because those are what make the games feel real and like there are some genuine stakes for Nancy to contend with. And at the same time, I want a couple of still realistic but also surprising second chances that are memorable and add to the personality of the games. The classical era games did both, and that's why I think they're the clear winners of the second chance rankings. But what do you think, fellow detectives? Do you agree with me? What are your favorite second chances? What are your least favorites? What makes a second chance memorable for you, and what do you think is important in a good second chance? Are there any that you would have included on this list that I didn't? Let a Wizard Kitten know in the comment section down below. If you would like to come join a fantastic group of fellow detectives at Mystique Manor as a patron for the channel, gain access to exclusive content, and support the making of more content like this, please check out patreon.com/wizardkitten. I have also just launched channel memberships with exclusive badges and emojis to use during streams and in the comment section. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming an official fellow detective, click join next to the subscribe button. Please feel free to follow the channel on Instagram or Discord, linked in the description box down below. And as always, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more Nancy Drew and Sims 4 content. Thank you so much for watching, fellow detectives. I will see you soon.